Uh-oh, sorry about that. My Screencastify will only allow me 10-minute intervals, so we'll just pick up where we left off. Again, we're looking at the meaningful technology used for schema theory, or things that could, or technology that could relate to schema theory. So I put on here a video, and we'll just click it. We'll go to it real quick. This is a website, and this would be good, I think, for younger learners, but this is called Watch and Learn Library. It's on Scholastic. And this is just, I won't play the whole thing, but this is just a short little video clip about lovely little ladybugs. Okay, just for the sake of our Screencastify, I'm going to move us along off the video. But what I liked about that video and what I like about that website is that teachers of any subject area can go on there and find videos to help establish some background knowledge, to put some new knowledge in front of their students before they read or they take a deeper dive into a subject. For example, with the lovely ladybug, a science teacher could talk about the larva, and then could talk about the process that a ladybug goes through with metamorphosis. And then an English teacher or an elementary teacher could read The Hungry, Hungry Caterpillar and use the same idea of metamorphosis when talking about a caterpillar to a butterfly. So I just thought that was a pretty cool website. Other things that could be done is allow students to take a virtual field trip. So let them do some online researching or an online scavenger hunt or a web quest that kind of gives them the background knowledge they need before proceeding. So for me, as a high school English teacher, I teach American literature, and I always have to teach kids about older text, Puritan text. So I always tell my students a little background knowledge before we take that deeper dive into the literature. For example, we learn a little bit about Salem witch trials. We learn a little bit about Puritan culture before we read The Crucible, so that they have a better understanding of what's happening within the text. The second theory I wanted to talk about was transactional theory. And again, what is it? Where did it come from? How does it apply to teaching? So transactional theory is an extension of schema theory, and it focuses on the idea that readers with different perspectives and different schemas will have different experiences with a text. Again, both of these theories stem from constructivism. Sorry. So Rosenblatt's theory, or Rosenblatt's transactional theory, believed that reading experiences are as unique as individuals. Or in other words, we all see reading or text through our own perspectives. Another important aspect of transactional theory is the use of efferent and aesthetic responses. So you use efferent responses for informational text, and you would try to use aesthetic responses with literature where you're looking for more of a personal response from students. So transactional theory is constructivist in nature because it emphasizes the active role of the reader in meaning making. So again, I tried to think of strategies that would best work with any content area. There's a big push at my school right now from the literacy team for all teachers to conduct read alouds. Now, I think I've said about a million times, and I'll say it one more time. As a high school English teacher, I do read alouds all the time with my students. But that's just simply not the case within their math classes or their science classes or maybe even their fine arts classes. So there's a big push to do read alouds. When teachers use read alouds with students, they're showing them the thought process that they use. So teachers are modeling the thought process to students of how to read and stop and ask questions. So again, read aloud, using background knowledge, making connections to the text, and asking questions. And over here on the right, I've put an example of text to text, text to self, and text to world. And so this would be a great chart just to put on the board at the beginning of the school year, just to help students see the sentence frames for this. It reminds me of the story and they fill in the blank. It reminds me of when and they fill in the blank. It reminds me of that place and they fill in the blank. But just allowing them to make that deeper connection to the text. And then part of asking questions for transactional theory is the understanding that, again, going back to constructivism, that that reading is an ongoing process, that learning in itself is a natural ongoing process. So there's before reading questions that can kind of that's the stem from schema theory, but then transactional theory says let's ask questions during the reading. So pausing if you're doing a read aloud and saying, what do you think is going to happen next in the story? Or what can you tell me about the story so far? Or how do you feel? So those types of questions, the how do you feel questions or how do you connect questions, those are the aesthetic questions that Rosenblatt's theory reinforces. So again, here's some more meaningful technology that relates to transactional theory. So I tried to pick Storyline online. That's a great resource for elementary and I would say middle school teachers. I've used it once or twice, even as a high school teacher. Commonlit.org, I'll show you that in a minute. Ebooks, blogs, Flipgrid. These are ways in which students can communicate about what they've read, but also kind of make it more interactive. And some of these give guiding questions. So let me show you Common Lit. We're just going to log into my account, and I'm going to show you an example of one of the readings my students did. So this is The Danger of a Single Story, which talks about stereotypes, which again relates back to one of those ideas presented in schema theory that students are reconstructing or restructuring their schema. Because in the danger of a single story, she's talking about stereotypes. So what this does on Common Lit, it gives students some background knowledge to begin. And then with the reading, there's certain things that teachers can set up for kids. So there is a read aloud mode. So this also can be translated if you have a student. Let's just look to see. See, we've got Spanish, Chinese, we've got a ton of languages to choose from. Okay. Then we have guided reading questions. So the teacher can actually set this up for the student to stop at a certain point and force them, it forces them to answer a question. And as you can see, I'm about to read my screencastify or reach my screencast